Good afternoon. I'd like to call a special meeting of the Dare County Board of Education to order. Today is Thursday, June 30th, 2022, and we're meeting at First Light High School, and the time is 1:04.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the agenda.
We have a motion on the floor by
Second.
Mary Lyons, second by Susan. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. 6-0.
Mr. Chairman, I move we go into closed session to consult with the Board of Education attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in N.C.G.S. 143-318.11a3 and to consider confidential personnel matters provided in N.C.G.S. 143-318.11a6.
We have a motion by Margaret,
I'll second.
second by Frank. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, unanimous. We're in closed session. I'd like to request a motion to return back to open session.
Mr. Chairman, I move we return to open session.
I have a motion on the floor by Susan, second by Margaret. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye, unanimous. All right, before we continue, I would like to request a motion to amend the agenda to revise personnel consent agenda under item 4A and to amend the budget amendment number 25 under 4C. Do I hear a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Margaret,
Second.
second by Mary Lon. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimously. All right, next we need to approve the amended agenda. Do I have a motion on the floor to approve the amended agenda?
Motion we approve the amended agenda.
We have a motion on the floor by Mary Lon. Second. Second by Joe. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Unanimous. We now move to the next item of the agenda, which is approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes the revised personnel agenda, consent agenda, minutes of the June 14th, 2022 special and regular session meeting, budget amendments, a budget resolution, the Dare County Academy accountability model for school year 2022-2023, approval of the cyber liability insurance provider for school year 2022-2023, and approval of the school nutrition bids. Do I have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda?
Motion we approve the consent agenda.
A motion by Mary Lon. Second by Margaret. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. It passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is the discussion and selection of the superintendent search firm. If you will recall, the search firm was sent out sometime back, I believe it was February. Deadline was April 30th. All the applicants was sent to Candy, and then Candy made copies, and Dr. Farley gave those to us in the May meeting. And from that point, I asked that each of you review the information. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah, on the superintendent search. That was done a little later. Superintendent search was held through Richard. We asked Richard to send out some requests, and that was done with that. And Richard gave us a workshop back in June 14th. To go over some confidentiality and some board work that we would do through this process. So I'm opening it up to the floor to the board members for some discussion.
I have a question, just for a reference point. The last search that we did with McPherson, what was the total bill on that?
Joe, I don't know. I don't know the total bill. Rich did, if you recall, right quick, Rich just dropped us off an update.
I saw that.
Okay. On the current fees that is being suggested today for these firms. That would be a question that we'd have to go back and look, Joe.
Yeah, that would, the cost of that search, and I mentioned it to Frank, was I think all 5 candidates that we selected to interview, our last interview, were all within a 100-mile radius of Dare County. So the question is, do we need to, and again, I don't know the expenditure from McPherson, but.
Well, just stop and think right now. That same firm is not to exceed over $28,400.
Within that, if I may, you've got a number of options that you get to choose that would impact the the range of the cost. That's primarily dealing with advertising. So their basic fee, their flat fee is $18,500. But then, if you look on page 3 of this thing I distributed to you,
Right.
in the column to the right of where it says 18,500, those are different things that could affect any additional costs. And some of those things are things that you have choices on. So that's where you get the not to exceed price of 28.4. And I will mention to you, Tom Jacobson, who did the search for you last time, who was the face who was here, I mentioned last time, I don't think you were here, Joe, he passed away. But the firm is big and they're still going strong, and but it'd be a different person, obviously.
Okay, so you're saying that regardless of any services, the fee is not to exceed 28 grand, is that correct?
28.4, yeah.
Yeah.
That's for that individual, but the other one with BWP, they have a not to exceed for 32.
Yeah.
And these aren't bids, and, there's some negotiating room with some of these too. So, that could be whittled down some probably.
So we're talking about negotiating downward, not upward.
Yes.
Well, Joe, I'd like your comment about the radius of the pool that we actually ended up with the 5 candidates. That means a lot to me about looking for a search firm. Possibly, I'm leaning towards that we do it in-house.
I'm going to say exactly the same thing. I feel like with knowing that we have over 30 openings in North Carolina, superintendent openings, and what we did with Farley was pre-COVID. We're on the other side of COVID. And the caliber of candidates that are going to come up for something like this, I think, is going to be substantially different than what we looked at, going into the first search. So I have a tough time with going with a search firm at all, with all that being considered, that we can't try and do this in-house first. And if it doesn't work out, we don't have anything. We haven't wasted any money. We've spent some time, yes, and but we haven't spent a lot of money. We can still advertise with NCSBA. We can create a board committee. David can appoint an ad hoc committee. We can include our, just as a suggestion, our principal of the year, a teacher of the year, classified employee of the year, bring in 2 more principals as a interview team. We can post this with NCSBA for free, put a deadline on it, and do some interviews and see where we're at. And if we don't like what's coming back at that point, then we can look at search firms. But I think considering the possibility, the possibility of what we're going to get, even applying, and if we don't like what we get applying, then we've spent money and we don't like our choices. I think right now, with the way things are coming out of COVID and what we're looking at, I think that we do it internally.
Having not taken part in the search that you guys did to obtain Farley, and looking at these packages, they seem to be pretty intense and labor intensive as far as someone doing some additional groundwork and stuff to free you up later. So I hear all that, but
It all depends on where you want. Do you want your search nationally, or do you want it regionally? Or do you want to look for someone across the country, or do we want to look for someone that could possibly be in our backyard?
And that's how it happened, Frank. Originally, it went up nationally.
It was nationally. And we
so
ended up with someone that was 2 counties over. And we spent all this money for somebody who was right next door.
So if we do it regional, we can certainly narrow that down tremendously. Instead of looking, there was 80-some applicants at the time, Dr. Farley.
At that time.
And then
We're not
we
gonna
had
do
a budget, we had a workshop with that firm,
Right.
and they went around and asked our thoughts and our opinions of what we were looking for.
Yep.
So they done all of that as the spreadsheet, done it up on the board, had our names, and came, and then they went back and pulled 8 of the candidates at that time, and we added 2 more to give us a 10 for them
we
then
started.
to set up a video of themselves of, I think, of about 60 minutes, explaining why they want to be the superintendent of Dare County Schools. And then we narrowed it down
Yeah.
and had for second interviews.
I hear all that, and that was all stuff that they said these firms were doing too. So is the thought that we would be better served looking ourselves closer instead of casting a broad net? And
Right, and if we look closer and we set criteria for what we want and what we're looking for, and then in a month and a half, we're not getting the applicants that we want, then we haven't spent any money. We've spent a little bit of time, but then we could look at search firms again. We can always go back to looking at a search firm. I'm just saying, considering where we are post-COVID and considering where everything is as a whole, can we just take a step back and put it out there, have people send in an application, have the committee review the applications, we're not going to bring in for interviews, set up an interview team with our principals and our key group, and then see what we have on our own. And then, if it's not what we want and it's not looking like where it needs to be, because we're getting ready to start the year, what kind of superintendents are we going to get right now? I mean, who's,
I was
like,
concerned about the quick turnaround.
so, I mean, realistically, we're looking at, someone's gonna have to be retired or desperate to get out of where they are. And like Rich has always said, Dare County is an attractive place to be. People see that we're looking for a superintendent. I think we will get just as many applicants through the NCSBA blast as we would if we went through a search.
All right, I hear that. So,
And there are some superintendents that are retired in this county that are attractive and don't have to worry about housing and don't have to worry about,
that's true too.
different things that we are going to be faced with, because if we bring someone in from outside of Dare County, if they could be in Currituck County, they could be in, a county close and drive in, but realistically, someone finding a place, you know how hard housing is right now. I'm just saying it buys us, without spending any money, it buys us some time.
All right, so my question in that is, how much additional taxing is that on the central office and us to perform that? Because I hear that makes sense, but we're talking about getting it done.
Okay.
Are we-
The scenario I was thinking is that Georgia wears a couple hats, as you know. She's not only the assistant to the superintendent, but she's also the board secretary, okay? So the applications could go through to Georgia, okay? I could set up an ad hoc committee, okay? And in between that, each of us should give the ad hoc committee what are you looking for, and give us that information, the ad hoc committee, so then we can narrow it down, and then we can come back as a board and discuss the next process. And if we get to a point that we have 5 to 6 good candidates, then we need to call our attorneys and have them to be in the process of the next step.
So
Do
in
an interview.
essence, you're just taking the companies out and you're following the same steps that they're doing, is what I'm hearing.
Because last time, Frank, everybody they presented to us, and I think it was because we were in North Carolina, they presented everybody who was from North Carolina. And I feel like Dare County sells itself because it's such a good county, and I feel we'll get probably some really good people. And with NCSBA advertising, that would be a national, anybody looking around.
And they do that for
looking.
free, right?
Yes.
They do that for free. And
Well, and
I just
we-
thought it was odd, nobody they presented to us was out of state. So I thought, why did we spend all that money?
Excuse me,
Yeah.
the answer to Joe's question of last time it was, we got charged for that company, it was $26,803.12. It was paid in 2017.
That's all?
Who's going to draft the solicitation of what we're looking for?
Well, and my thought on that is that if we decide we're going to do this in-house, and David appoints an ad hoc committee, and I firmly believe that the ad hoc committee has to include a principal, a teacher, the classified employee of the year, and then a principal. So Rachel Benton's so we would need a middle school principal and a high school principal to also serve on that. And that group get together, come up with the criteria with input from you guys to whoever he appoints, and we come up with what our criteria is, what our guidelines are. Yes, it's a little bit more work on us, but that's what we're here to do. And if it saves us the money, I think we have to take that into consideration. And if we do this and we don't like what we've got, then we can start a search in January when superintendents are looking to move. That's like we did it, when we looked for Farley.
So are we to impose a deadline for, not meeting our expectations, so doing it solo as opposed to going through a committee like as December 31st or something like that? We review it to determine whether or not it's actually working?
Yeah, and I would think that, if I was looking at a calendar and I would say, okay, the committee needs to be assembled and agreed to participate. We need to meet no later than the middle of July to come up with the criteria, as soon as we can.
I think one of them was starting the 15th of July.
And then make the announcement, we'll have the people submit their applications up to maybe September 1, and then we start our interview process. And,
And I bet there are people waiting for us to put this out, because Dare
I'm sure
County
there
is
are.
such a
I agree.
advantageous county to come to.
I just don't see, I cannot wrap my mind around spending this money at this time of year, coming out of COVID, when there's 30 other open positions in this state, that we need to do that. We can do it this way first, and if it doesn't, I'm not saying it could work, it could not work, but I would rather take a chance on us and our time, and if it doesn't work, do this in January.
I think it'll work. It's going to be some work on us.
Well, the other thing, too, as I understand it, we have an interim superintendent until the end of July 3rd?
June.
June, okay.
Good comment,
So
Jeff.
we have some time, at least to give it a shot to do it in-house.
Yep.
And, that,
So, any other discussions on this before
I
we
have
bring?
one other item. I heard the different people you were talking about including. I would also suspect at some point in time to make sure all voices are heard or feel represented, is that at what point would the consideration be to bring some of the public in?
Bring what?
I'm saying, I heard you talking about the different team. But when we get to the point where we're actually looking at selecting the people,
No.
that,
And I hear what you're saying
We're
to
in
some
charge.
degree,
Here
but
is- We're in
yeah,
charge.
I know we're in charge,
We
but
bring them in,
But
and we
it's-
don't do what they want.
at some degree, I feel like it's more important that our principals and administrators are behind this person, because they're the people that have to be working with that person directly.
I agree to that.
And they understand
with
what they're looking for in a superintendent.
And Frank, we're open anyhow. I mean, we all get communications from parents throughout the community. And each and every one of us reads our emails and responds.
Yeah.
We can take that information and be their voice when we meet, okay? That's how I would like to see that. We have a great community. We can get some good feedback from our community. And then it's our responsibility, being an elected official, to bring that feedback and present it as a board.
That's good. And I just want to make sure that
Yep.
there is an avenue for that. Yeah.
I would like to make a motion that we,
I want to ask one more question.
okay?
So what we do is we post it on, what's suggested now is we put it on the School Board Association, North Carolina School Board Association, requesting applications for superintendents, and that's at no charge. I understand that they do have a service themselves that they charge as well. So we're bypassing that and going directly to some other mechanism that they provide? Yeah, I understand.
Well,
Okay.
and also, Joe, we can do as we have in the past for our key directors. You can reach out in Richmond, Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, Raleigh, Charlotte, Winston-Salem. They got media news out there. It's going to be on our website as well. So there's ways. Now, those when we send to the media for it to put it out there, that will be a fee. That's not free. So each whether it's WRL or the News Observer or whatever, there's a fee for running that advertisement.
Right. I
For how
understand
long?
that. So the School Board Association would do this free of charge? Okay.
That's correct.
So we are asking them to put it on their board that we're advertising for a superintendent.
That's the only thing they do free of charge. That's the only thing is put it on their website.
Right.
There's also associations, Mr. Twitty.
And we
that will
paid to
do
be
it.
part of that association.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
Association, Superintendent's Administration, Administrative Association in North Carolina, Association of Educators. There's a lot of different places that'll do it, just like the School Boards Association, and do it for nothing.
Yeah, okay.
We're cutting out the middleman to start with. So I mean, like I said, if we were sitting in January doing this, I think I would feel a little differently, but sitting in the middle of the summer, post-COVID, I just have a tough time swallowing.
And the fact that we
These
have an
rates.
interim superintendent.
And we do have an interim
Somebody
superintendent in
sitting
place. Yeah. I would like to make a motion that we conduct the search in-house and that the board chair appoint an ad hoc committee.
We have a motion on the floor by Mary Line that we do the superintendent search in-house that allows me to appoint ad hoc committee.
Second.
Second by Susan. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unopposed? It all passes.
A lot of paper here.
Georgia can do it. Now, where I started,
Hopefully
I
not.
apologize, where I started a while ago, I had both of them in front of me. So now we're going to move to the selection to represent for the board legal services for the year of 2022 through 2024. What I said earlier is that Candy was our point of contact for the applications to be sent to. She's turned that information over to Dr. Farley. Dr. Farley presented them to us in the May meeting, and we felt that we needed to have some time to review this, and this was part of one of our special call meetings, not only to close the year out financially, but to talk about the RFP for this service. So I'm open the floor right now for discussion. I mean, we can start with Mr. Shorts if you'd like to, his information, and go down. We had three, as you will know. We had Mr. Shorts, we had Sink Law, and the other one was Pointer Sproul. So how would y'all like to discuss this?
In regards to the policy reviews, does this include that? I had a tough time trying to figure that out.
Well, in the policy review, as you seen yesterday, you seen where the North Carolina School Board Association sent out us. Oh, you're talking about policy. Policy is part of the contract. That's
Okay.
on the other one, on all of them.
On all three of them?
Yep.
So there's no additional charge when they are reviewing policy or making changes to policy?
No.
Okay.
It does. I mean, look, as we said just a while ago, we have an obligation, a job to do, okay? We review these applications. Tell me how you feel, so we can get this process underway.
My feeling at this point in time, it's no disrespect to you at all, Rich, but I think we need a firm that has a little more staff support. I just think we need a little more staff support. So I would recommend we go with Pointer Sproul.
Along the similar lines, after reviewing the RFPs, when you looked at it and you look at the situation that we find ourselves in, it appeared that we needed a firm that had, for lack of a better word, a deeper, wider bench. I am extremely impressed with Rich. And, it's hard because this is the lawyer we've been dealing with since I've been here. And Rich, you were extremely good. My biggest concern is if something was to happen to you or if you were to decide to move on, I don't have that same connection with the other people on your team. And I've seen a couple of them before, and I have nothing against them. But it just appeared that the other firm had more latitude to be able to help us through all these difficult times we're dealing with.
Okay. Joe, you have any comments? Marilyn, you have any comments? Turn the mic on. Nope. Margaret, you have any comments? Rich, I'm gonna have to key in with Susan and Frank. You've done well for Dare County Schools. You are very intelligent, good at what you do, but I have to go and see the bigger picture as well of the staffing that Pointer Sproul has available in their hands, and I'm leaning towards that way.
We need a motion.
I will need a motion to, two things. I will need a motion to approve the contract with Pointer Sproul for the board legal service for 2-year period beginning July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2024, and authorize the board chair to sign the contract on behalf of the board.
So moved.
I have a motion on the floor by Susan. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Frank. Any further discussion?
I would like to say something.
Sure.
I think the world of all the other attorneys that are with Pointer Sproul, and I'll be glad to work with them if that's the direction we're going in. But the institutional knowledge that Richard Schwartz has is irreplaceable. And I hate to see that advice not be with us anymore.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
Yes.
No?
No.
We have one nay? Yeah.
I said no.
Okay. So it passes 5-1. You say no too? 4-2. Next, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Mr. Hester.
Good afternoon to all. We've been talking a while about JRTC, and I know that it's been tried in the past, and it seemed like it landed flat. So just like anything else, we're always leaning forward, and we want to be in a position that we can give our students another opportunity, another avenue to consider, which is the reason why we want to see if we can get approval to move forward with having JROTC incorporated within Dare County schools. We know that we can't do it in all the schools. It's just too much of a load. So we're looking at trying to reach out to the different services, the Coast Guard, the Air Force, Army, Navy. The Marines aren't doing it. They have stopped in April 5th of 2017. They're no longer taking applications. And there are some school systems that have this in place. Camden has the Coast Guard, Currituck, the Air Force, in Crestville, they have the Army, and Havelock has the Navy. What we are requesting to do is to put forth an application to send to all of the armed forces, with the exception of the Marines, because they're not taking applications, to see what is possible. And here again, I mentioned that we can't do it in all the schools, so we have to start somewhere. Right now, Manio High School has the best opportunity as far as capacity for school space, and that would be a place we'd like to start. And but we can't start without finding out whether or not the different schools would be willing to consider us and, make the program work. So the soonest time that the applications had to be in was, I think it was 15 September. So we like to move forward with putting forth the application to the services. And I think we also have to change our mindsets a little bit and not just think of it as a military thing, because they promote so much more than that. Patriotism develops an informed, responsible citizenship, develops respect for authority, develops leadership potential, promotes high school completion, promotes higher education, promotes community service, provides, encourage kids to make better choices and to live a more healthier life. So that's what we'd like to be able to consider to get accepted to do that and see where it goes.
This process doesn't obligate us to do anything
No.
other than to submit an application, see what the response is from the services that we solicit, and there is like Frank said, a deadline of 15 September in terms of getting these applications in. We don't get it in by 15 September, we've got to wait another year. So, again, it's no obligation on our part, no cost, no expense, just to find out who's interested in maybe having a program. So, that's it.
Yeah, if we don't cross this bridge, nothing else will move forward. So it's
Who-
exploratory.
Who will be sending the application
Yeah, who's doing the
out?
process?
Who's going to do the process of the applications?
It's my understanding that that'll come from within the central office for filling out the paperwork and sending it in.
They're stretched.
Yes, sir.
so
We
thin.
have a team that'll probably work on that between Dr. Castillo and Johanna Parker. They were sitting at the table as representatives of the curriculum team, so they will probably help gather the information. to do
Has
that.
anybody talked to to John Luciano to see if it's,
I talked with John last week.
do we have any idea how many kids at Manio might be interested?
Right now, the short answer to that is no. But
Isn't there a minimum?
But there are minimums, but here again, if we don't cross this bridge, nothing else counts. And, I see it almost in the lines of with the accident that just happened with the train that derailed and had the Boy Scouts there. From the standpoint, there's a group of individuals that are civic-minded, and they're in that group to be able to help. And I think that this is another venue for a lot of possible students within Dare County.
What do we pay this individual when they come to the school? 6 years ago, they wanted $75,000. Teachers start at 32 and are capped by the state at 52 if you teach your whole career. I can't imagine the unsettled reaction some of the teachers would have if they're going to have a small amount of kids all day long and they're teaching 20 kids every bell.
I hear that, but,
And they rejected us last time we applied.
well, that'll be fine. If we don't at least try, we're never going to know. And the military, or this program, I think, provides another venue for people to consider. Just like you have it for colleges, you have dual language, you have the, I lost the other name. But there's a lot of other venues. So I think the more possibilities that our kids can see, then I think it just broadens the horizon and makes it better for us.
But that's the cost of 2 teachers.
But look at the students on the other end that will gain from that. My military experience to me has been priceless. It's made me who I am, and it's what's made the country what it is. So in that regard, then I think that I hear you saying the cost, but we're looking past. I'm looking past that. I'm looking towards the future. That if we can get some kids that can continue to make a difference in this world, it pays off. It's worth it.
How much time is involved? What's the process that central
How much time is
office
central
would
office gonna have to
to go through
And
to
maybe
start this process?
Shannon can answer that.
I'll have the fun. Each one of the services had a different application, of course. But the information is similar, it appears to me. So, I don't know, I just feel if we don't start, we're never gonna get there. And right now, the cost is on the time needed to get the applications in. And then we'll see what happens from there. There's a good opportunity that it'll fall flat. But at least it's gonna fall flat because it wasn't supported, but we made it available to folks. So that's my thought.
I'm okay with doing the application. I think, I understand what you're saying, Margaret, the cost, but that's putting a cost on some child's head.
But I'm also glad to see Shannon, our CTE director, being
Yeah,
involved
and
in
if
this,
Shannon's willing to do the work
to jump in there.
to get there, I think
A lot of work.
I mean,
all we're committing to right now is to say we're going to try.
I mean, that's her world, you know?
But I hate to put a price on.
And
a
that will,
child's
that will
head.
come later after the application process begins. Then we can, I mean, if it's anything else, we may not even get it until next budget year
Right.
for the cost. You know, that would have to be a 23, 24
Do you know what the
budget
minimum
process.
is of students that have to be? I've been told 20
I think it was 10% of
10%.
the total population.
of the school.
Oh, it's a
Right.
percentage.
It's a percentage.
It's
So that'd
typically
be 45
10%.
students.
Well, I mean,
We're really getting in an argument that's not relevant at this point. What's relevant is just submitting the applications and then seeing the interest that's generated as a result of programs, and then marketing it within the school system that, you know, as Frank suggested, Manio High School, to see who's interested. If nobody's interested, we don't move forward. I mean, it's that, but, you know, to get into these other areas, it's not really relevant.
Well, what Mr. Hester is doing, well, actually, the JROTC committee has made a recommendation to us complete the application process for 4 branches of the JROTC program: the Coast Guard, the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, as the first step in pursuing the establishment of the program at Manual High School. That is what's laid on the table today. Do I have a motion on the floor to accept that?
motion to accept.
Do I have a second? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes. Thank you all. I mean, that's what the committees are for. You know, we come up with these committees to do the work and to bring back to us. So thank you all for stepping up there, working, and central office staff being part of the committees as well, because it comes back working with you as well. So with that being said, this concludes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Point of personal privilege,
sure.
if I may. I just want to tell the board and, as a board and each of you individually, how much I have enjoyed working with you and what an honor and a privilege it's been to serve the Dare County Schools over these many, many years. I'm going to miss working with you. I'm going to miss seeing you personally and professionally. And you've got a great school system. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. I appreciate that. So, any other business before us today? If not, this concludes our business for this evening, and I need a motion on the floor to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Motion by Margaret, second by Joe. Any
And-
other discussion?
I want to say thank you to Sandy and Candy for all your hard work and always being there for us and coming to every meeting, and your brilliant minds. So we're going to miss you so much. But have a good summer.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourn.